Hello, hello. Hello, everyone. Hello. How are you all? We all good? We live? We are live, aren't we? We are live. Good to see you. Good to see everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Hey, Mountain. Good to see you. Oh, I'm tired. Not gonna lie, guys. I feel like I shouldn't have gone back to sleep. Feel like it was a mistake. But we're all good. We're all good. Got my coffee. Good evening from LA. Oh, yeah, it will be evening for you. Well, it'll be a nice evening for you, DJ. Good to see you, mate. Are we going to get a practice start? We did get practice starts earlier. But we won't get a practice start to the extent of what we saw in Bahrain, where it's like competitive. So, what is the race template on multi-viewer? What, this one that I'm using right now, or this one? These are just my layouts, the way that I've got everything set up at the moment. From Hong Kong, nice. We used to pray for times for this. Well, welcome back, everyone. Hope you're good. Only just over 2.5 minutes until FP2 gets underway. The most representative session of the weekend, because it is held at the same time of day, but we have qualifying and the race on Sunday. So will we see more performance from the Mercedes? I did see a data trace, guys. I saw a data trace earlier of the Mercedes compared to Ferrari and Red Bull, and Mercedes are undoubtedly sandbagging still. They were not showing anywhere near the performance that they have available to them, so we should see more of it in practice now, or they aren't going to release their full cards until tomorrow on Saturday. Ian from San Francisco, good to see you, brother. Yes, Jensen. Or Jens, sorry. So, the pink dot is the overtake activation zone. So no longer do we have DRS as an overtaking aid. We have now, instead of that, what's been replaced is, of course, the 50-50 split between the battery and the power combustion, the ICE, the old school fuel. And they get an extra amount of megajoules to use, basically, if they're within 1 second of the car ahead. And that pink dot is the activation zone. Sorry, is the detection zone. And then the green dot is the activation zone. And that's where they can use it. So, but they can use it wherever they want on the next lap. So they don't have, it's not like DRS where they're limited to just certain areas. No, they can use it wherever they want. But there is concerns about potentially, with the whole recovery issue of energy and so forth, a discussion that we'll continue to have throughout this season, no doubts, whether or not that overtake mode is even worth it, because you may drain the battery too much and it takes 5 or so laps for it to be recoverable. Yeah, we don't know yet, so we'll see. You've heard of Aston's driving 50p pieces. It does seem like that, Daisy. We did our impression of the Aston Martin earlier. This is my impression of the Aston Martin. If you're wondering what I'm doing there, guys, the news is, of course, that Adrian Newey explained that the Aston Martin has a considerable amount of vibrations being put through the chassis. And, yes, that Fernando Alonso can't do any more than 25 laps in the car before he receives nerve damage. And Lance Stroll is 15 laps. So, but we are go, green light. And just like it was in FP1, we have Nico Hulkenberg leading the drivers out from the pit lane. Will we have the drama that we had in FP1? Yes, there was a little bit of drama. The McLarens had issues with their engines and, well, specifically gearbox for Lando Norris, and Albert Lindblad had an issue as well. So, is it going to be Alonso's last season? I don't think he'll want it to be his last season. I think he's said that if this season is not good, he will want to not go out on a whimper. So he'll be around for 2027. But who knows? Who knows? Ferrari going to fumble? Let's hope not. It's closer than you think. It's closer than you think. I think pole position of 20... So we discovered, was it pole position of 2022? So the start of the last regulation set of the ground effect era was a 117. So these cars still some way off that. They only just crept into the 21s earlier, or into the 20s, sorry, earlier. So there is improvement definitely out there. We saw Charles Leclerc set the fastest lap time on 15 lap-old softs. So the track is going to get quicker and quicker. Track evolution is very essential here at Albert Park. So as the weekend goes on, they're going to get quicker. And as the drivers and teams understand their packages more as well at this circuit, they're also going to go quicker. But there is definitely more that Mercedes has. So while it's a great start for Ferrari, undoubtedly a great start, and there's lots to be happy about, Mercedes, you still would sit there and go, well, what have Mercedes got? What are they hiding still? So we'll see. Do I think Leclerc has a chance? I do, Chrono, yeah, I really do. So I think both Ferrari drivers... Oh, front wing nose change for both... for George Russell there as he was exiting the pits. Was there damage to that? Was that a damage? Did he... Oh! Oh, George Russell just made contact with Liam Lawson or Arvid Lindblad as he was exiting the pit lane. And they've just had to wheel him back in and change the front wing. This guy's just hit my front wing, is what George Russell just said on his radio. It's Arvid Lindblad. Arvid went... George tried to poke his nose out in front of Arvid, and Arvid went, no, what are you doing? Get back. We're not on British streets anymore. There's no give way to the right. Or Australia as well, give way to the right. How do I feel doing 1 hour of FP2? I feel okay. I feel okay. I'm getting my coffee. The caffeine's starting to kick in. Oh, is it yellow? Another yellow? Why there's another yellow down the start-finish straight? What's gone on here? Is there another issue for another car? Well, Lance Stroll is coming out of the pit lane. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, Aston Martin in the chat. They are there. This is multiviewer. Do I think if the FIA gave 1 point to the person who comes first in practice, it would be more interesting? No, not really. No, I don't think every session needs to be competitive. Franco Colapinto. Hang on. I think Franco Colapinto was going slow down the start-finish straight. I mean, he seems to be okay now, but another Mercedes power unit issue when he was, which is what that yellow flag was for. Interesting. Red flag soon. I don't know, but I mean, all the issues thus far have been for Mercedes power units with Just watching a replay now of what actually happened. So Franco was going very slowly around the last corner. And he had no drive. The car went into anti-stall. Very bizarre. That's why there was a yellow flag. Oh my God, Lewis Hamilton nearly went into the back of Franco Colapinto. As Lewis says, yeah, there was a car going crazy slow on the pit straight. And he was on the racing line as well. My goodness. And what's this with Max Verstappen? Another issue with Max Verstappen? Mate, Lewis nearly just had an airplane crash on the start-finish straight there with Franco Colapinto. And then Max Verstappen's car, I think, has gone into anti-stall as well when it's exiting the pit lane. Mate, these cars, like, as Max Verstappen is at the end of the pit lane. The same thing that happened with Arvid Lindblad in the morning session in FP1 has happened with Max Verstappen. So 2 Red Bull powertrain units have the engine has cut out at the end of the pit lane as we see George Russell and Kimi Antonelli go to the top of the timing screens. 21.3 and a 21.4. That's a bit more like it from them. But yeah. Didn't see any of this, did we, in Bahrain? Netflix be cooking Colapinto and Flavio again, yeah. It wasn't Colapinto's fault, though. The engine just went into, like, anti-stall as he was coming around turn 14. And this is the thing with these cars, right? With the turbos. The cars that have got, obviously, the larger turbos, this is the worry about the race starts, is that they haven't got them spooled up enough. So if they start going too slow, then there's a worry that the anti-stall will kick in. And this is what I think is what we're seeing. Aston Martin just wants Alonso to retire. He's an old dude on top. You build a car that will give permanent nerve damage. Well, we have Lance Stroll out there. He's now done 2 laps. Lance Stroll has done 2 laps. Is he back into the pit lane, though? That's all he's doing. That's all he's doing. He did the same thing this morning. He did 2 laps, and now he's back in the pit lane. So, incident involving Lindblad and Russell will be investigated after the session. Where's Ollie Behrman? He's there. P12 at the moment. You can see he's just come out behind Arvid Lindblad's icon. So, hard compound tyres on. We should see performance laps in a short while, guys, in this session, because it is the most representative session. Lewis Hamilton, 28.4 in the first sector. So I think the fastest first sector we saw earlier was a 28.2, bearing in mind. So that's pretty quick on the hards. Is Yuki at the paddock? I think he is, yeah, because I think Yuki is the reserve driver. This lap's about to get interrupted though by Lewis, for Lewis, because he's got Bottas and Piastri ahead of him, unless they decide to move out of the way. But George Russell's just taken the fastest first sector away from Lewis there. There you go. Noted for Colapinto driving unnecessarily slow. I mean, that wasn't his fault though. In fairness to him, that was a car issue. Hamilton around the last corner here. Let's see what he does as he crosses the line, as George Russell is improving on Hamilton's time at 20.9. So we're already into the 20s after just less than 9 minutes. So that took us quite some time to get to this sort of lap time earlier on. So laps getting quicker and quicker. Are the pole laps from last year anything to look at for orientation this year? No. You've got to remember last year's pole lap and the cars in general from last year, they're the quickest F1 cars we've ever seen. They smashed the Spa lap record. They smashed numerous track records last year. So, no. To compare these cars to those cars would be disingenuous. Oh, that was an interesting last sector from George there. What happened there? Was it driver error? Was it just lack of battery deployment? What did he do? Like, unnecessarily slow. Oh, but I tell you what, that Mercedes doesn't look as... That Mercedes doesn't look as planted as what many suspected it to be. At least what I just saw in that last sector from George. Tyre compounds the same as 2025. So there's still the C0, so it's still C1 to C5. There's no C6 this year. The construction of the tyre compound has changed somewhat. We don't know the exact details of what has changed because, well, the level of tyre The level of energy that the tyres have to contend with now is a lot less than what they were in the ground effect era. These cars are lighter, slightly slower, so they're not putting as much force through the energy through the tyres through the corners, because they don't have as much cornering ability. So the tyres are still the same height, so still 18-inch, but we have slightly narrower wheels, and that's why they look smaller on the cars. So yeah. Verstappen car issue, yeah, it was. It's the same issue that Lindblad had earlier on in FP1, where the engine just cut out at the end of the pit lane. So they're going into anti-stall when they're going too slow, these cars. I think it's a turbo issue. I think it's got something to do with the turbo. How long does anti-stall take to fix? Well, that's what I'm presuming it is. I don't know how long it does. Yeah, I guess, obviously, they've got to identify where the issue occurred first, and if it is something like anti-stall or just a stall of the car. Yeah, if it sounded like it was not actually anti-stall. It sounded like it was a full stalling of the car. So if it is that, then is it a driver error? I don't think so. Probably something to do with the car, but they've got to figure that out. Antonelli with a 20.8. That was much better from him. Is Ferrari using the rotating wing? No, not at the moment. Which I'm surprised about, to be fair, but maybe they don't feel like it's necessary at this circuit. If you need anti-stall, maybe racing isn't your thing. Golfing, maybe. Anti-stall is always there. Every car has it. So it's there just as, of course, a mechanism to ensure that the drivers can still obviously get away from the line or get off the line. No, Max isn't missing FP2. Just got to wait to see for him to come out again. Lance Stroll, though, that's a crazy one, but he's only done 2 laps there. Like Aston Martin, they're not going to race Sunday, are they? How can a car that doesn't do FP1 and FP2 possibly get out there for qualifying and actually start the race on Sunday? It's wild, absolutely wild. I can't believe it. That is a crazy situation that they find themselves in right now. Mercedes might not be sandbagging, but they might have actual sandbags. Well, the fastest lap that we saw earlier was a 20.2 by Charles Leclerc on 14-lap-old softs. So there was a lot more pace in the cars. Piastri's just done a 28.1. Piastri's just done the fastest first sector I think we've seen today. So 28.1. So let's see how he fares as he makes his way through turn 9 for Oscar Piastri. A 17.8 middle sector, so not particularly quick for Oscar in this middle sector. But this is interesting because they're doing these lap times on the hard compound tyre right now. So we are on the C3, C4 and C5 compounds for this weekend. So they're on the softer range because the amount of degradation that we see at Albert Park is never really that high. It's not a high abrasive circuit. It's a street circuit. But something you do have to be careful of here at Albert Park is the temperature of the tyres. There can be a little bit of sliding that occurs. And we see there Oscar Piastri, even with that slowish middle sector, still improves there with a 34.699 in the last sector, a 20.6 overall. So they're getting quicker and quicker. We're going to see sub 20 we are going to see sub 20 today. We'll get into the 19s. So aren't Aston going to skip qualifying and go with a 107% lap from practice rule? I heard they were only planning to do 25 laps in the race and retire. Well, it says they said there's no indication that they were only going to do 25 laps. It's just that Newey has stated that Alonso can't do more than 25 laps. That's his threshold with the vibrations in the car before he starts receiving nerve ending damage, supposedly. But yeah, it's just absolutely shocking, isn't it? Even if they don't start, like, to the amount of resource that they've got. I mean, what are they going to do? What are they going to do? Yes, sir. Thank you for joining the pit crew, buddy. Much appreciated. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. Hope you're good. Oh, it's good to be back. Hope you're enjoying it. You can also join my fantasy league today, guys. I do have the code and the link in the pinned message, so feel free to join that. You have until qualifying tomorrow to lock in your team, as we have Fernando Alonso out on track. I think that deserves some fireworks. Well done. Well done, Fernando Alonso. He's out there, but for how long? How long? He did no running in FP1. Oh, George is on softs. George is on softs. What happened with Isaac Hadjar here? Oh, my Jesus diddly. Whoa. Big step out of the rear for Isaac Hadjar as he went for the exit of turn 5. Got on power. That could have been an absolute shocking crash, but well held by Oscar. Brilliant car control. Is Ferrari's rear wing on? It has a rear wing on, but it's not the rear wing that you're thinking about. Yeah, it's not the flip-flap rear wing. Does Aston Martin have 2 cars yet? They have 2 cars, but not sure about how suitable they are to drive. So let's see. Does that announce Fernando Alonso? Is he going to do a second lap here, or is he going to be back into the pit lane? He's doing a second lap, ladies and gentlemen. A momentous occasion here for Aston Martin, as they are not bringing this car back into the pit lane after one single lap. Wow. As soon as I seen the first pictures design of Aston, I thought it didn't look like a clean, fast-looking car. I think it looks fast, but it looks aggressive in the amount that's going on in that car, and it's never a good indication when you've got ventilation flaps on the side of that car. It's just too aggressive. And Adrian Newey, we said it in FP1, Adrian Newey has to take responsibility for how this car is performing right now. He's come in, he's given Honda a short amount of time to adhere to a design that he himself has said, oh, they're already 4 months behind on, and when it comes to development. And Honda have done what he's asked them to do, and it's just not fit for purpose. Newey might get fired. I don't know if he'll get fired, but I mean, he has to. Yes, there may be something coming his way. I don't know. I can't imagine Lawrence Stroll is too happy. So we have Charles Leclerc on a set of hard compound tyres still, but we have George Russell on a set of softs. He is on a push lap here. I believe George Russell, let's see what his first sector time is like as he makes his way around turn 4 and through turn 5 here, where he'll be crossing the first sector line any second now as he makes his way into turn 6, and it's a 28 flat for George Russell on the soft compound tyre. I don't know how quick that is, to be honest with you. I don't know if he can go quicker. I mean, it's quick, but I think he could probably go quicker than that. I don't know how affected he was by Pierre Gasly there getting in the way. As I said, I feel like Pierre Gasly and Colapinto have just been roadblocks for a lot of drivers these practice sessions. They've done more impeding than they have actual driving. But Russell, fastest in the middle sector as well, understandably, on that brand new set of softs as he makes his way into the braking zone of turn 11, where we have seen a little bit of lift and coast here as they make their way round into turn 12. It was a bit snappy on the rear, George Russell, last time I saw him on his onboard, but no doubt on a brand new set of softs he'll be okay as Antonelli starts his push lap here. Let's see how he fares. He's up to 295 kilometers an hour. I saw Antonelli as he went into the braking zone of turn 1. And George Russell does a 120.049. Yes, we are going to see those 19s, but I think George can probably go even quicker than that. So, Antonelli, here we go, making his way around turn 5 now. What's his first sector time? Can he get sub 28 seconds in that first sector? Oh, he can't. He's a couple of, he's 100th of a second behind his teammate in that first sector. But Antonelli, who had a brilliant recovery drive, a debut drive here last year, if you remember, started 16th and ended up finishing 4th in those wet weather conditions. Navigated his way through the field tremendously last year, as he does a 17.6. So he's slightly down on his teammate here. He's around a 10th down now on George Russell. But this last sector, he was better than George last time when he came through the last sector. How is he now? So into turn 11, get that front end turning in. This is where you need that front grip. You need the rear. You need all those tyres. This is where all the work for this last sector has come from, how you've managed the tyres through the first and second sector for the previous corners of the lap, because you need to ensure that those tyres aren't screaming at you in the last few corners. And he comes across the line, and he is just under 2 tenths back from his teammate at 20.2. Lost a bit of time there in that last sector, so not bad, but still, they can still go quicker than that. We saw Charles do a 20.2 on 14 lap old softs earlier, so still, and Mercedes starting to push it more as Hamilton moves up into third on his hard compound tyres. They're starting to push it a bit more, but still a lot in the back pocket for the Mercedes team. Verstappen hasn't set a time yet on X because his engine stalled as he was exiting the pit lane. So they had to wheel him back into the pit lane, and I think they're just trying to identify what exactly caused Verstappen's car to effectively break down at the end of the pit lane. So FP1 looked like it belonged to Ferrari and Red Bull. Now FP2 looks like it's all Mercedes and McLaren. Well, look, I think what this is hopefully presenting to us is that there is a genuine battle between the top 4 teams. That's what I'm really hoping for. That's what I really hope we are seeing. So how lucky will we be as F1 fans if there are genuinely 4 teams who can win races and fight for the world title? That would be unbelievable. Regardless of what you think of the racing product, of these like racing product and the energy deployment and so forth, it will make going into every race weekend a very interesting prospect, because not every track is going to suit each car either. So usually it's only FP3 when you see the cars and drivers turn up the wit and put on a quali run. Not necessarily, Swim. Normally we do see a representative push lap in FP2 because of the track conditions, because of the time of day. We do sometimes, yes, you'll see them get into the groove of it and push in FP3, but FP2 is also where we do see I can guarantee you everyone will be put on a set of soft tyres and do a push lap at some point in this session. Hadjar might break the curse. What do I think? I think so. I think the curse has been lifted. Final last words. You can clip that, guys, and splice that together later on in the season when Hadjar, hopefully not, crashes or something. No, look. Said it in FP1, this is the best time ever for a driver to move into that second Red Bull seat. Not just for the fact of it, it's a brand new regulation and it's a fresh reset, but also because it's a brand new team. It is. Horner's gone. Marco's gone. I was very fortunate to chat to someone who works at Red Bull, not on the F1 side, but they're working on the RB17 project. And he said there's been a noticeable change in how the team as a whole, or Red Bull as a whole, is being run now. It's a bit more corporate, and it's a difference in approach than what Horner had for the team, because Horner had a lot of control, and that's from someone inside Red Bull. So that is a massive difference in approach as a business as a whole, and yeah, they clearly have a way forward that they want to do things. And I think also as well, in this era of F1 now, I think Max, as good as he is, there's not going to be a clear advantage that they have where he can just win the constructors on his own. He is going to need a teammate to be closer to him in performance, to help him on strategy, and to help win the constructors, because they still want, while we as fans don't value it as highly, the teams value it as highly. And I can tell you now from people that I've spoken to, the personnel inside the teams also value the constructors highly, because that's where they get their bonus. So the teams, the personnel back at the factory and so forth, they want to do well in the constructors, because that means they'll get a nice bonus at the end of the season. So afternoon, Mark, good to see you. Afternoon. It's morning. It's 20 past 5 in the morning for me, or just past 20 past 5 in the morning. AM. So Stroll 7 seconds down on soft tyres. Is this the real pace or an outlap? Stroll's back out. He is back out. He's doing more laps. Still haven't seen both Aston Martins out on track at the same time, though. Is the F1 fantasy site broken? It shouldn't be. Let me have a quick check and see if I can open it. I don't think so. It may be... someone did comment earlier on in their region that they couldn't get access to it. So maybe it's region blocked. I don't know why F1 Fantasy would be region blocked, though. Maybe try it in a different... open it in a different browser. Or go on the app itself. Download the F1 app. That's how I do it. So... Ferrari were on fire in FP1. Don't know what happened now. They haven't done any push laps yet. They're doing long runs. So they're on a different run plan. They're doing the hard compound tyre. Same thing as Hadjar, except he was on the mediums. As we have our first time sub 120. And it goes to Kimi Antonelli. A second push lap from him. Let's keep an eye on George Russell, though, as Kimi Antonelli went fastest in the first and second sector. So Russell makes his way down into turn 3. We'll follow Russell here as he's going to want to regain that first place back from Kimi Antonelli, even if it is just FP2. And I think George has he just had a little moment there, George? I think George has just had a little moment there. I think he may have just run wide into turn 3 or turn 4. He has indeed slowed down. And you can see there it's a 34-second first sector. So no yellow flags, but I think George may have locked up into turn 3 there. We have seen a few lockups into that turn 3 corner. One of the hardest braking zones on this track. There's not many. Probably turn 11 is the second hardest braking zone or, alongside turn 3. So George there on that push lap having to bow out of it. Interesting. Max Verstappen, yes, Max is now out of the pit lane. So after that early... stalling of the car, the shutdown of the car earlier at the end of the pit lane. Max is now out, but he has missed nearly half of this session. So not ideal for Max in that Red Bull. But at the moment, it's Antonelli as Behrman jumps up into P6. So we're starting to see a few more push laps. How much they're pushing, I don't know. But we've got Antonelli in P1, setting the first time sub 120, which is a 119.9. And George Russell did just have to bail out of that second push lap. So we'll stay on board with George again, as Lewis is now out on a set of softs. And no doubt Leclerc will probably be in the pits very soon. So let's keep an eye on George. Lindblad goes fastest in the middle sector. Some of those cars, some of those midfield cars really do have the pace in that middle sector. And I tell you what, if any of the big boys get stuck behind them, they're going to be tricky to overtake in that middle sector, looking at the sector times. It's very, very tight between them all. It's not like from what I've seen thus far, but the top teams have a significant pace advantage in the middle sector. As George has gone off at turn 3 again. Georgie boy. What is going on? He's going very slow. He's gone wide again. I don't know what's happening because George has gone off twice in 2 laps. And Sky Sports is on an advert. So I don't know what's happened. But George Russell, on 2 consecutive push laps, has gone deep into turn 3. I'm presuming. Anyway, about to get confirmation on it. George does nothing equals P2, exactly. So I'm sure I'm about to get a replay of it. But we'll keep an eye on Lewis Hamilton, who's approaching the last couple of corners now. And he'll be starting a push lap. So, Luffy, thank you for the commentary. Enjoyed it a lot last year as well. Thank you, buddy. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it this year. Really am. So, any replays of George of what happened to him? Nothing yet. Probably just a lockup. I want to see what happened to George quickly before Lewis Hamilton starts his push lap here. Come on, show us. Show us. Are they going to show us? Doesn't look like it. So, okay. Right, let's have a look at Lewis Hamilton's push lap here, shall we? Oh, now I'm about to see it. So, George Russell down into turn 3. Yeah, just big lock up for George on the front right. Actually went through the gravel. George Russell had to take to the gravel and was doing a bit of rallying there. So, Lewis Hamilton starting a push lap here as he makes his way down into turn 1. Straight line mode activated here. The second of 5 zones that they have here. Up to 295 kph into turn 3. Seems to keep it within track limits and no issues with front lock-in here like we just saw from George Russell. So, as he makes his way through turn 5, the shortest straight line mode that they have here down into turn 6. Not sure how effective it will be, but it's a 28.122, so a good tenth off, over a tenth slower than that of the Mercedes boys who did 20 flat. So, Hamilton now. Here we go. Straight line mode activated. Let's see if he's already bowed out of it. So Lewis bowed out of it. He probably had a little bit of a moment through turn 6 there. You can see the speed only getting up to 200 kilometers an hour. Lance Stroll was even catching him. So not sure what happened there with Lewis. definitely backed out of this lap and probably deep into turn 6. Maybe a little moment through there, which is a corner which is notorious with crashes in years gone by. But someone who is on the move is Charles Leclerc, because he's gone very quick in that middle sector, but his first sector isn't particularly great. But how much is he offset his middle sector with his first? We will see. I think he's a bit slower than that of the Mercedes boys. Yeah, he's a bit slower at the moment than the Mercedes. That first sector isn't particularly quick. But he's on the hard compound tyre, Charles Leclerc. This is on the hard. It's not even on the soft compounds. As he makes his way across the line, and Charles goes third fastest on a set. Oh, no, it's softs. It was on softs. It said it was on hards a second ago. Make your mind up. Or maybe it's just my eyesight at 5:30 in the morning. Still haven't fully woken up yet, guys. But yeah, Charles Leclerc there. Up to P3, a 20.3. So, not too bad. Lewis Hamilton going again for this push lap then, I presume. So we'll keep an eye on him as he makes his way through turn 4 and turn 5. First sector line coming up any second now on the exit of turn 5. Let's see what that first sector time is. Is it green? Is it purple? Oh, it's our first sub 28 seconds. First sector time of the day, of the weekend. Lewis Hamilton purple there. Now, let's keep an eye on his speedometer there. Up to 322 kilometers an hour before we start to see the super clip in there. You can see drops all the way down to 300 kilometers when he hits the braking zone of turn 9, or drops down to 300 kilometers down into turn 9. That middle sector is about even Stevens with the Mercedes, so he's slightly ahead due to his first sector time as he makes his way around turn 11. Let's see how he fares here. How much does he have in those front tyres of that Ferrari? Makes his way around the last corner. Here we go. Can Lewis Hamilton take it to the top of the timing screens here with his first push lap of this FP2 session? Across the line. Oh, no. What happened in that last sector, Lewis? Lost a considerable amount of time. He lost 3 tenths in the last sector over Kimi Antonelli. Not ideal. What happened there? Watching Lewis's last sector, just want to see if he lost any grip anywhere. Or maybe they'd run out of battery. Oh, looked like the rear stepped out a little bit out of turn 13. So maybe he lost a bit of time there. But to lose 3 tenths there. Sandbagging. Let's have a look at the sector times then quickly, as we now have just seen a couple of decent push laps from Ferrari and Mercedes. You can see here Hamilton fastest in that first sector, the first driver to go sub 28 seconds. And then really the big one is the last sector. That's where the difference is being made at the moment. The middle sector, not a lot to separate them. But the last sector, you can see Hamilton and Leclerc both in the 34.6s, whereas Russell was a 34.4 and Antonelli a 34.3. So is that battery related or is that tyre related? Because last year, as mentioned previously, we saw McLaren really dominate this circuit in relation to Max in the Red Bull, because of their superiority on the management of the tyres and keeping those tyres in the right temperature window, specifically when they approach the last sector, which is when you need that level of grip, where it's the tightest, you need the tightest section of the circuit. And Max last year was great through Sector 1, great through Sector 2, a match for both McLarens. Yet his tyres were screaming at him by the time he approached Sector 3, and he just lost. He didn't have that level of grip and performance that he needed in those tyres when it mattered, and that's where the difference was made. And is that what we've seen here from the Ferraris compared, or are we seeing that here from the Ferraris right now and the Red Bulls compared to the Mercedes? So something to keep an eye out on, and of course we'll be listening to the driver interviews afterwards to hear what is the case of that. But it seems to be that Mercedes are happy with their push laps, and Antonelli is already back out on a set of hard compound tyres now. Lewis had a slide. Well, there we go. And that would be, and if Lewis did have a slide there in the last sector, that would be indicative of those tyres, just the temperatures being too high and him not having that level of grip needed to keep the car planted. Whereas Mercedes were in a much better position. So, Kim Kardashian, Nicole Scherzinger, personally. I'm wondering why Williams aren't coming to the party. They have the right power unit. So, Williams, they have admitted that they have got they're going to be a bit slower than they'd like at the start of the season. They're a bit overweight. I mean, I know how that feels. You know, post-Christmas bloat, all those roast potatoes that I've eaten, and all that turkey and pigs in blanket. I know exactly how they feel. Oscar Piastri, stop it! The Australian fans go wild as Oscar Piastri is to set the fastest first sector, a purple there, a 27.8 of anyone thus far. Can he keep it up for the middle? Oh, he's fifth fastest in the middle. He's slightly slower than that of the Mercedes and the Ferraris. How are those tyres in the last sector? Here we go. Hey, Taco, good to see you. Piastri around to turn 11. Let's see. He went for it. He set the fastest first sector early. He gave us a little insight, a little snippet of it earlier in FP1, as Leclerc's gone quicker again in that first sector, by the way, 28.1, but that's not a 27.8 by any means, is it? Here we go. Piastri to the line. What is he set? Is he going to go top? Oh, the Australian fans go wild. A 19.729 for Oscar Piastri. And well, for a driver that started this day with an issue on his power unit, he has just topped the timing screens here with a 19.7 with his first push lap. But Charles Leclerc could be responding here as he's just gone fastest in the middle sector. But that first sector he's still some way off of Piastri's time here. So I can't imagine he's going to improve too much here, Charles, with this age of tyre. And yes, I was correct. That last sector, quicker in the middle, but not quick enough in the first. And with 7-lap-old softs, definitely wasn't going to have the level of grip in the last. So, okay. Lando Lando hasn't made his way out of the pit lane yet, has he? So we'll see if Lando can set a lap time. But that's an intriguing time there for Oscar Piastri. I did say right off the McLarens at your own risk. I feel like McLaren have not been spoken about enough in testing, and yeah, there's a reason why I've got the McLarens. I've got Norris a lot higher than Piastri. I know people came at me in the comments about where I've put Piastri, and I still kind of stand by that. I do think he'll be found out across the season on the lower grip surface tracks. Right, Verstappen, here we go. Green in the first, green in the second. Understandably, because he's only done 7 laps here. Is that going to be too bad from Verstappen around the Ferrari's lap time? Yeah, around the Ferrari's lap time there. Oscar said, hold my beer, yeah. Is there a sprint in this Grand Prix? No, but there will be one next weekend when we head to China. We're in the middle. We're starting off this season with a triple header, guys. We're starting off with a triple header. We head to China next week and then Suzuka in Japan a couple of weeks. Well, the week after that, so a couple of weeks from now. Is this Ferrari's year? We'll see. We'll see. Why isn't Perez out there on track? That's a very good question, and I can't tell you why. But good to see that Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll have actually set some... Lance Stroll's hit double digits for laps. And Alonso should also do the same. Who do I think will win the Constructors' Championship and the Drivers' Championship? Is F1 coming back to India? I think there's been rumours about it going back to India. But the Constructors, I don't know. I think Ferrari, maybe. Maybe Ferrari. I think you've got to look at drivers who are going to be... Oh, big lock-up from Lewis there down into turn 3. He took a trip to the gravel. Oh, that looked very nasty for Lewis. I wonder how much damage he's maybe done to the underside of his car there. Yeah, maybe Ferrari. I mean, it's still too early to say. As I said, I thought Norris would be my champion this year, but development's going to be massively key. So just because you're quick at the start of the season doesn't mean you're necessarily going to be able to maintain that peck. That's going to be the same pecking order throughout. And I'm hoping it's not. I'm hoping it's like a woo season. F1 is set to return to India, confirmed via local newspaper. Is it really? Heard it here first then, guys. Oh, Lewis went a sub 28 in the first sector again, by the way. And improves. Better from Lewis, considering that's on 7-lap-old soft. So, how much does the Mercedes truly have in its back pocket? I guess that's really the question right now. And also all the other teams, like, are they... I mean, they're still able to go quicker on a second lap. these or second, third lap of these tyres, which I think is an indication that the teams can go quicker. So, so supposedly it is okay. India could be back on the calendar. I guess the question would be: is it going to be a brand new addition to the race calendar, or will it be there in replacement of something? You know. So yeah, someone did say about what do I think is going to happen with the races in the Middle East in relation to, of course, the geopolitical situation at the moment. I'm not going to talk politics, real world politics, but the FIA are they're just obviously assessing the situation. I think, to be honest, with obviously what has happened, it's particularly in Bahrain. I don't know if you follow any journalists on F1, but the journalists were saying, obviously, when everything started there, but there were unfortunately strikes on the area that they were even staying, literally the week prior or 2 weeks prior in testing. So I think Bahrain is, if I was to put money on it, I would probably say that they're going to be pushed back in the calendar year. Try and fit them elsewhere in the calendar, because Bahrain and Saudi are two of the highest paid contracts in F1. And I can't imagine that F1 would want to postpone them not indefinitely, but postpone them for this year. They'd want them to go ahead in some capacity. So I think they'll probably try and find them a position later on in the calendar. Maybe they shift the calendar around a bit, move a track that's later on in the year, earlier on. And worst case, they will be replaced by probably some European circuits that are already ready for F1 races. Imola, probably. Mugello, something of the like. But I don't know. I can't imagine things are going to be... And also, like, security-wise, with everything that's gone on, I can't imagine the drivers and all the team members and all the journalists are going to be happy about going to an area that has recently, unfortunately, received strikes in just a month's time. I know. Put it this way: if I was working in F1 and I was telling the missus that that's where I'm going to stay in 4 weeks' time, I know that she would not let me go. And I'd imagine a lot of the F1 team members, family members, are the same as well. So. Jarvis, thank you for the 5 gifted, buddy. You are a legend. Thank you. Can I do the same as well? Normally I have some to gift, but I'm not sure if I do. Oh, I do. There we go. I can gift some as well. There we go. These are random, by the way, guys. These are random. Norris only up into P7. So Lando Norris just trying to get his groove in. Not as quick as Piastri there. Piastri getting on it much quicker than Lando. A 120.7 for Lando compared to a second off of his teammate in P1. I mean, they cancelled the Qatar World Endurance Race Championship race because of the conflict there, unfortunately. Yeah. But I mean, that was more immediate, wasn't it? Isn't that like starting next week or something? So there's obviously more time between Bahrain and Saudi. Yeah, there's more time between Bahrain and Saudi going ahead than the World Endurance Championship opener. But yeah, look, it makes sense, doesn't it? But I think they will not want to remove them from the calendar or replace them. They'll want to move. They'll want to push them back and find a position for them somewhere else. So, your hot take is that Lando is a better driver than Oscar, but Oscar is a better learner than Lando despite having less experience. Yeah, I mean, look, Oscar doesn't have as much experience as Lando, so yeah, you could argue it's taken Lando longer to get to the level that he's at right now, and that's the gap, the performance gap that you see right now is that extra years of experience. So if you have Piastri at the level of experience that Norris has, would he be a better driver? It's a fair argument. And Piastri has made steps forward every single year in his development. The question is, will he be able to do it again this year, make those big strides forwards? Personally, I just think with the requirement that these cars have and drive, my logic is, and from what we've seen his weaknesses be in the past at low grip surface tracks, my criticism of him, but my concern of him is that he'll struggle more with these cars than the ground effect era cars, which is why I've obviously put him where I did in my championship predictions. But look, it's going to be super close. It's going to be super close, and I think reliability is going to play a factor this year as well. We've already seen it play a factor just in the first 2 practice sessions. But Oscar drove better cars than Norris. That's very true as well. Yeah, Norris has been at McLaren since he's been on the grid, and he's had to drive cars that were the slowest on the grid. And he's strived with. He's been a big part of McLaren's journey to be constructors champions, and obviously him being an eventual champion. But F1 is all about timing. F1 is all about obviously being in the right car at the right time, and Piastri has made a brilliant decision to go to McLaren rather than Alpine. I mean, look how good of a decision that was for him. Was able to fight for a championship in his 3rd year last year, and yeah, I mean, there's no way he'd be in the position he is now. And we probably would still see the talents of Piastri, but he wouldn't get as much recognition driving an Alpine as he would obviously driving a McLaren up the front of the grid. So, Arav, you're in Dubai and the state is the government is handling things. Yeah, stay safe. All I can say to anyone, I'm not going to touch on politics. I will touch on politics to an extent when it affects F1, but still, outside of F1 is not really what we discuss. But I will just say, because I know that people tune in from all across the world, wherever you are, wherever there's conflicts, stay safe. And hopefully what we can do here is, over the course of an F1 weekend, provide you an escape from the trials and tribulations of the real world. So, yeah, and we can provide a place here for everyone to enjoy F1 and chat about the sport that we love. So, stay safe, everyone. With the amount of lockups we have seen in pre-testing and some practice, it could be a factor in the races. 100% Swim. Yeah, I agree. We've seen a lot of lockups, and this is the thing that they've been. Why are we seeing so many lockups? Well, because of the nature of the energy management recovery, whatever. Because of the energy recovery, and because of lift and coast and so forth, these drivers aren't necessarily keeping the brakes up to the level of temperature that they need to be. So what is happening is that they're approaching certain corners and the brakes are just cold, and that's why we see these lockups. So it's a massive balancing act. It really is what these drivers have. It's not as simple as, they need to make sure they've got enough energy in their car. They need to make sure that their tires are up to. They have to make sure that they're pushing enough that they have enough temperature in the tires, so the tires aren't cold, so that they have the level of grip they need to go through the corners, because the aero packages of these cars doesn't have as much downforce capability as the ground effect era. And then, of course, they need to make sure that the brakes are hot enough so that they're able to, avoid lockups, which we've just mentioned and seen a lot of. And then, of course, they need to ensure that while they are obviously doing the energy management and so forth, they're not killing their tyres through corners, because tyre management is still going to be a factor in how races are won and lost here this year. So much more that the drivers need to be aware of, as well as obviously trying to go as quick as possible. It's a very fine balancing act, so we'll see how it plays out. But yeah, it's not as simple as, Mercedes are quickest, so they're automatically going to win. No, not by any means. Like, you could have a slightly slower car, but if you do all of those things correctly and balance them off better than your competitor who has maybe a singular advantage in the power department or the aero department, then you're going to come out on top. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting season for sure. I hope the battle between the top 4 teams is a better version of 2024. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Cheers, Raj. Aston Martin does have a chance at this season. If they change the engine and the chassis, they would win this season. They need to just change the car. Change it from God, as Christian Horner famously said. I think Nui's just effed up. Really do. They need to almost start from scratch again. But in a cost cap affected era, even though the cost cap has increased this year, it's very difficult to do that. And that's the problem about going so aggressive on a design from the outset. I mean, look at what Mercedes did with their design in 2022 with the sidepod concept and how aggressive a decision that was. And look how much that backfired on them. It arguably ruined their next 4 years, that whole regulation set, that they were effectively a year behind in development of their competitors. Yes, they had the odd race that they won, but they was always a year behind the teams that they wanted to beat. So, and that's where Aston Martin are finding themselves right now. And what decision do they make? Do they try and just take on the costs and just start again from scratch, or are the issues that they have right now fixable? That's what they are obviously just scratching their heads over right now. Oh, Max Verstappen. Big off for Max Verstappen. Wasn't picked up as a yellow flag, and he's just gone off at turn 11 and 12. Big off for the kink for Max Verstappen. And what happened there? The rear snapped on exit, and he's damaged the underside of his car. Lots of carbon fiber parts coming off of the rear, coming out of the rear of that Red Bull. Brilliant car control from Max. I mean, honestly, that is picturesque, but that's not where Max Verstappen would like to see his Red Bull. Big moment there. To be fair, how he's kept that car pointing straight forward is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. But that Red Bull is damaged. Lots of parts flying off of the rear of that Red Bull, and I'm surprised he's not back in the pits right now. Newey isn't the problem. Newey is the problem. It's the problem with his concept and design, and he's asked too much of... Why have they still got Max out there, by the way? Do they not know they've just lost like half of their floor? Max is just driving out there in a massively damaged Red Bull, by the way. The rookie is awesome, Arvid Lindblad. Yeah, seems to have got off to a good start. I do think what they've done with Arvid Lindblad, though, it does seem like they're trying to build confidence in him, and he's done more performance push. He's done more soft runs. Look, when it comes to team battles and stuff like this and practice, sometimes what they'll do is that they'll take more fuel out of the car for the rookie, the less experienced driver, to for them to build up confidence. That's primarily what you want to do with Arvid Lindblad. Whereas Liam Lawson is a lot more experienced. They can do different run plans with Lawson. They can do the long run data. They can put more fuel in the car and gather what is necessary for like race simulations. I tell you what, we were talking about lockups. We are starting to see a lot more lockups. Charles Leclerc also took a trip to the gravel, well, not necessarily the gravel, the grass, through turn 1. So Charles Leclerc also took a trip. We're seeing lots of snaps, and I think we'll definitely see that in the race on Sunday and qualifying tomorrow as well, actually, when these cars are proper pushing for the first time. You think Alonso just broke the engine? Sergio Perez is out there, by the way. So we've now seen for the first time this season every single car out on track in a session. That's good to see. A car must set a lap within 107% of the pole time to be able to race. So that'll come tomorrow then, won't it? Aston Martins were good with Mercedes PUs. Not sure why they switched with Honda. Well, this is the risk that you take with being a single, being the only team with being the only team with a single power unit supplier. So if you want to become a top team, theoretically speaking, normally you have to be a works team. You have to be the only team on the grid that has that engine. Or is like the sole supplier of that engine. So for Mercedes, yes, the outlier here is that you've got McLaren, right? But McLaren obviously have been there, done that. They've got the money behind them and have had that for quite some time, and the resource behind them. But if they get a good engine in the back of their car, well, no matter what supplier it is, they'll do a good job, right? They'll create a decent aero package and stuff. Whereas Aston Martin are looking to break into that top 4 and become a top team. Now, you're not going to do that, as we have a yellow flag as Perez has stopped. Perez on his second lap. has stopped out on track on the last sector. So Cadillac, who have done very limited running in FP2, stop the car, we have an issue. As Sergio Perez, in the closing stages of this FP2 session, 5 minutes remaining, just over, has pulled the car over to the side and has had to come to a stop. And he's only done 2 laps. Not even 2 laps. Sergio Perez, that's a shame. But going back to it, solo PU provider is tricky. Exactly, Primeval, because the problem is that the risk is that if you want to make it into the top 4 and you want to be winning races, really you need to provide your own powertrain. Now, Red Bull, of course, had Honda, but they were the only team that Honda backed, that supplied. So that is what Aston Martin have looked at, and they've gone, okay, we'll work with Honda. Look at the success they had recently with Red Bull, although it's not the same personnel at Honda anymore because they all went to Red Bull anyway. And that's how we're going to break into the top 4. That's how we're going to fight for podiums and race wins and eventual championships. Great strategy. However, the risk to that is that if it goes wrong, like it goes very wrong, because you have no other data points to gather from. So where Mercedes have 3 other teams that they can gather data on for their engine, Williams, Alpine and McLaren, and Ferrari have Cadillac and Haas, Honda don't have anything. So it leaves you at a detriment and behind your rivals. So Honda supply for RB as well. Sorry, and RB. Yeah. But I mean, you get what I mean. Like, it's the main team is, Red Bull. So in some series that allow numerous tyre suppliers, going for a solo tyre provider is a big gamble. Yeah, exactly. I think Honda needs some groundwork and just needs some time, because if they find that they'll be the best supplier, no doubt. Well, I actually don't look. I'm sure, obviously, it's a bit of both, but I do think more of the blame needs to lie at Nui. He has asked something of Honda he's asked something from a design perspective for Honda to achieve, and Honda have tried to achieve it, and it's just not translating from the design sheet into the real world. And they have big lockup from Hadjar into the last couple of corners as well, taking to the grass. So yeah, drivers really struggling with those lockups, really struggling with the balance of having to keep temperature in those brakes and tyres while doing management as well. Vibration seems like it could be an easy problem to fix. Yeah, I presume so. Yeah, I mean, I'm not an engineer. I'm not going to claim to assume what is the cause. But it does look like, from all the images that you see and all the comments from Honda, is that Nui has asked them to package that engine in a manner that is just too tight. And that's why they're having issues with cooling. They're having issues with vibrations for the chassis. And that needs to be looked at. So, from my less than expert analysis, Norris fastest in the green sector, by the way. And also, by the way, Natish, I saw the 5 there, by the way. Thank you very much. Aston Martin is both undercooked and overcooked. I don't know how they do it. Weight is reduced, so there are significant chances of lockups, maybe. Maybe, yeah. I think it's more so from what we discussed earlier, where it's that the drivers are struggling to keep. They're struggling to find the balance of the right amount of energy management so that they've got enough battery, and as well as having the brake temperatures up to the temp they need, and the tires as well. Because one of the reasons why we'll see lockups is because of the lift and coast nature. So you can, as Charles went through the gravel again into turn 3, so many more lockups now, is because one of the main ways that you can restore the battery is lift and coast. But by doing lift and coast, you're cooling the tires and you're cooling the brakes, and that means that you're going to have more lockups. So it's that balance, it's that trade-off of knowing how hard do you push to recover the amount of battery energy required, but then still have your brakes up to temperature and your tyres up to temperature. So F1 engines are bolted to the chassis, not soft mounted like our cars are, which would explain, why the vibrations are being felt through the chassis in the Aston Martin, and what Nui was saying Alonso and Stroll are having to deal with at the moment. Audi seem like they're doing well. Yeah, Audi quietly going about their business. Haas as well. Haas have been focusing on their long runs. As we have checkered flag here, and that is the end of FP2. As your resident Australian, Aussie fans, you have something to cheer about. Piastri on top, a 1:19.729. Glory run, maybe? Glory run. Give something for the home fans to cheer. Why not, eh? Why not? Oscar Piastri, 1:19.729. McLaren sorting out their issues mostly, at least on one side of the garage, because Lando Norris did set a lap time, but 1 second slower than his teammate in P7. Piastri, fastest there, with Kimi Antonelli in second and George Russell third. We saw a bit more from the Mercedes boys today, 2 times under the 1:20 range. George Russell in the 1:20 flat, Hamilton in the 1:20 flat as well, as Charles Leclerc did a 1:20.291. So 4th and 5th for Ferrari. 6th for Verstappen, who had very limited running. He missed half of this FP2 session from a issue with the engine as he stalled as he was coming out at the end of the pit lane. So thankfully he was able to get back out there and only did 1 push lap max. But he did take to the gravel through turn 10, 9 and 10 on the exit of 10. Wait until you see the imagery of it, guys. Brilliant car control from Max at arguably the most fastest section on the track. Brilliant. Norris in P7 there, 1 second behind his teammate, as we said. Lindblad clearly trying to get some confidence in Lindblad there in P8. Isaac Hadjar in P9. Ocon and Behrman in 10th and 11th. Hulkenberg in 12th. Lawson 13th. Bortoletto 14th. Albon 15th. Gasly 16th. Sainz 17th. Godopinto 18th. Bottas 19th. We saw more laps. We saw Alonso and Stroll get into the double digits, guys. Round of applause in the chat for the Aston Martin boys. 20th and 21st. They actually did 17 laps for Alonso and 13 laps for Stroll. And then Perez did only 2, not even 2 laps. Perez did, he broke down at the end of the session after being in the garage for the majority of the session as well. So, same amount of ads. There's no ads, is there? There's no ads. Hang on. No ads? I had ads turned off. I literally do have ads turned off. Oh, shit. No, they're not. Fuck. Sorry. I thought they were off. Thought they were... apologise. They were on automatic. Why were they on automatic? Apologies there. If you received an ad and it got in the way, apologies. Not everyone receives it. Sorry. I'll have to make sure that's the case for the remaining streams as well. So, sorry. If Stroll goes out in Q1, this might be the first year as to why that's understandable. To be fair, every time he goes out in Q1, it's understandable. Let's be real. Sorry, I'm sorry for my bad words there, my bad language. Take it back. Can't wait to see Aston's battery blow up. Oh, God, I know. But yeah, so interesting there. Let's have a look at sector time, shall we? As the drivers are just doing their practice starts. So seeing that Ferrari, by the way, that Ferrari launches off the line, very nifty, very quick, by the way. So that Ferrari definitely is one to watch come Sunday. By the way, thank you for all the subs, by the way, guys, all the brand new followers, seeing you fly in, so thank you. It's good to get the season up and running again. I'm not sure how my body clock is going to feel on Monday, that's for sure, but we're going to get through it. It feels like I've gone back 20 years in the past to getting up early in the morning. Australia was always the first race of the season. It's kind of like tradition, you know. So Piastri fastest there in the first sector. Lewis Hamilton consistently did a few laps actually in this sub for 28 seconds. Charles Leclerc fastest in the middle. The middle does seem to be, you can see here, there's a lot more variance in who's fastest in the middle. So Charles was fastest, but you can see Lindblad's there. You can see Behrman, Ocon, like Hulkenberg. Like, if you don't, like the race on Sunday, the middle sector could be very difficult to overtake, and especially if like you're one of the top boys. So it's going to be, track position is still going to be key. Sector 3, though, this is where really the difference is being made, and it's where the difference was made in the Ferraris in particular and the Red Bulls compared to Piastri and Mercedes. Do the Mercedes power unit teams, do McLaren and Mercedes have an advantage on the tyres in the last sector like we saw last year? Are they able to just keep them in a better window at the end of the lap where you need that level of grip in the slower corners, some of the slowest corners that we have on the circuit? That's what is interesting to me out of this session. But still not the full performance that we will see come qualifying tomorrow. So, interesting. And top speeds. Here we go. Speed trap was fastest. Charles Leclerc, 314 kilometers an hour. Isaac Hadjar, 295 in the first. 316 in the second was Oscar. So a bit wide and far range in there. You can see, look at the difference of finish line. So across the finish line, Hamilton and Leclerc are 310 and 309. Colapinto was 320. That's massive. That's a very different approach, isn't it? There that Colapinto had. So yeah. Hey, hello, good to see you, mates. Time to relax with a beer and some F1. Nice, nice. Well, the session has just come to an end. But, yeah, interesting session. Interesting. We saw some more push laps. We saw a bit more performance from the Mercedes. How much so? I don't know. But I think qualifying is going to be interesting tomorrow. Now, there has been a real bit of interesting piece of information that has come out that I read in between these sessions. Is that F1 has limited, or is limiting, the amount of energy that can be recovered in qualifying. So normally it's 8 to 8.5 megajoules, and they're limiting it to 7 megajoules in qualifying. Now, the reason for this is that there are concerns that the teams in qualifying will not go, obviously, 100%. They're going to do some extreme measures of lift and coast, going slower through the corners, through the faster corners than normal, to recover the energy that is necessary so that they can go faster on the straights. They're reducing the amount of energy that you can recover to ensure that there's no shenanigans, basically, with the lift and coast. So it should hopefully provide us a better qualifying product with drivers closer to the edge of driving these cars than it would be with the extra energy available to them and just focusing on their top speed. However, that then isn't going to be the case in the race. So yeah, the fact that they are correcting their own rules and altering the amount of battery usage or recovery, battery recovery per lap throughout sessions isn't great, is it? It's not great. But look, if it can be done and it's going to provide us better qualifying and better races, then yeah. Artificial stuff again. I know, Connor. I know. I'm not a fan. I don't think anyone is. But look, hopefully if we come to the race on Sunday and it's all good and exciting and the championship is exciting, then I don't care, really. But I would like it to be a lot simpler, and I do think that the 50-50 is a bit too soon of battery, of focus and dependency on the battery. It's too much too soon. And the funny thing is, really, is that with the whole with them removing the MGH, it's funny because we probably, if we had the old engines in there now, with these aero regulations that we've got, we'd probably be in a very good position. We'd have what we want. There wouldn't be this whole battery deployment issue. And there would be no issue with the spawning of the turbos and so forth at the race starts. It would be just fundamentally better cars to drive because they'd be lighter, they'd be shorter, narrower, which the drivers love at the moment. But obviously they don't love the deployment side of things. So, and recovery. What next for F1? Heated seats. I think the engine does that enough for them, Tony. To be honest with you, V10s would have been so much better than this. Yeah, I mean. Well, I don't think we'll ever go back to V10s. I don't. The problem is because, unfortunately, the car manufacturers, the engine manufacturers, do want some sort of road relevancy. I don't think it needs it. I don't know why. I think F1 should just always be the pinnacle of motorsport and doesn't need to have road relevancy. And I think many fans would love to go back to V8s, V10s, but I think we will always have some dependency now moving forward of electrical energy. But what we should have, hopefully, moving forward is less. This season, depending on how it goes, will probably make them realise that, yes, the technology isn't there yet to do 50-50, and they wind it back a bit, and we have a 70-30 split, or... Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're going to go to the MGU-H again, but they wind it back, so it's more focused on the combustion side of things than it is the electrical. But the thing is, as well, is that, and we discussed this in testing, right? You have these hypercars that are amazing, like these road cars, right? Like the Mercedes AMG 1 and things like that. Aren't they all like V10s anyway? Aren't they like V8 hybrids, V10 hybrids? So you can still have road relevancy by having like less electrical energy dependency. It doesn't have to be 50-50. And I don't think those cars are all 50-50, are they? So we can have V8s and V10s back in F1 and still have relevancy to cars. Yes, of course, high-end road cars, but still technically have road relevancy to it. So, hot take, Cruz. Merc engine will backfire. I mean, the more compression ratio, the more fuel burn. That means high chance of disqualification. Well, they introduced the new test. Have you seen that? The new test is coming into effect in June now, not July. So it is now from Monaco, I think it is, after Monaco. Let's have a look at the calendar for the season. What rounds do we have? F1 2026 calendar. So it initially was proposed to be brought in after the summer break, which was round 13, I think it was. I don't know why that's doing that and cashing up. We'll leave that there. We'll leave the set to times here. And yeah, so it'll be after Monaco, I believe, which is only round 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So after round 8 is when it's going to come into effect. So for Spain, so round 9. But Mercedes are still adamant that they haven't been achieving this compression ratio, and they've been very bullish on that. So I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, this whole rumor of this compression ratio came from one engineer moving from Mercedes to Red Bull, supposedly. So yeah, it's come from one source. So I don't know how true it is, and maybe that's why Toto he's a bit up in arms over it and has been annoyed, because he's like, well, it's just come from one rumor. By the way, any update on the Audi, Honda, Ferrari versus Merc, Red Bull? That's the June thing. Oh, that's what we're just speaking about now, Chris. So the AM Valkyrie had a V12, and that V12 was a hybrid. Yeah, 50-50 ICE electric. ICE engine won't be strained too much. Yeah, it's possible, isn't it then? It is definitely possible. But yeah, I don't know about the engines. I don't think it will probably affect them, by the sounds of it. But we'll see. Watch Red Bull give Max Hadjar's floor. Never say never. Never say never. But yeah, no, that was a big moment for Max Verstappen through the exit of turn 10. Really, really did well to control that. From the face-on angle that you had, he was, yeah, like phenomenal car control. Have I watched the F1 movie? I have. I enjoyed parts of it. I didn't enjoy parts of it. I didn't enjoy the overall storyline of like him crashing all the time. Felt like there was more crashing than there was driving, but hey ho. Norris having engine troubles today. He had a gearbox issue in FP1, and then in FP2, I didn't hear anything about engine issues, but maybe there was something that carried over from FP1. So, do I think Ferrari will do well this season? I think they will. The one thing about Ferrari I'm concerned about is maybe their development. Can they keep up the development compared to Mercedes and McLaren and even Red Bull, who we know have been good at bringing development packages throughout the years and improving their cars? Like, can Ferrari keep up with those? That's what I'm concerned about, and of course, obviously the strategy as well. Still yet to see that be improved. The pit stops have improved as the speed of them because they're a lot quicker, but the strategy still has a little bit left to be desired. So, hey Mo. Going to dive into the rabbit hole of that engine thing. That's the right thing to search up. Engine loophole controversy June, July. Yeah, it was all announced recently. If you just type in like compression ratio and stuff, there'll be a number of articles on it. So, you're going to put your neck out of the race, but I see Gasly top 8. What, for this race on Sunday? I think we won't just see the top 8 finish in the top 8, like the top 4 finish in the top 8. I don't think. I think there's going to be some reliability issues, maybe some car contacts. I mean, how is the car going to be effective? You know, like the side skirt things, the deflectors they're calling them, that stick out behind the front wheels of the car. Mate, some of them are definitely flying off, aren't they? Someone is definitely going to break one of those at the top end of the grid, and that's going to affect their performance. So, yeah. It's not as simple as like, oh, because they're the quickest in practice and qualifying, they're going to be the quickest in the race. There's going to be a lot more to it. But anyway, too early to say any pecking order, really. I think there's definitely a lot more performance in all of these teams' back pocket come tomorrow for qualifying. So, yeah, that is it. Day 1 done and dusted, guys. Day 1 done and dusted. FP1 done. FP2 done. Big thank you for everyone tuning in. It's good to be back up and running. So, yeah, really enjoyed it. Did Max ruin his floor? Undoubtedly, he ruined his floor. Yeah, lots of parts came off of the rear of that Red Bull car. So, we did very well to keep the damn thing pointing straight and get it back on track. So, very, very good car control from Max Verstappen. And, yeah, but not ideal. There's definitely going to be a new floor and some new parts added to that Red Bull because it lost quite a bit of carbon fibre. So, yeah. Thank you, everyone. It's been a pleasure. We'll be back tomorrow for FP3. Hit that like and subscribe button. Join our fantasy league. The link is in the pinned message, and the code is there as well. And of course, if you want any F1 merch from Red Bull, Alpine, and Haas, you can use my 15% code, which is in the description below. So yes, guys, have a lovely rest of your day, and we will see you tomorrow, bright and early, or should I say, dark and early here in the UK, because it will be 1:30 in the morning for FP3, and then of course qualifying at 5 a.m. in the morning, UK time, that is, UK time. So yes, big thank you, guys. Turn those notifications on so you never miss a live stream, so you're alerted 30 minutes before we go live, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Thank you for all the subs, guys, and all the donations and stuff, and see you tomorrow.